Hello, everyone. In our professional lives, vulnerability is often viewed as a weakness. We've been conditioned to believe that to be successful at work, we must always appear strong, confident, and in control. Showing vulnerability, admitting uncertainty, acknowledging our fears, or revealing our struggles is seen as a risk. But what if the truth is that vulnerability is the key to unlocking a deeper sense of fulfillment, connection, and growth in our work lives? What if we have it all wrong? And the very thing we fear the most is actually the thing that can lead to our greatest success. When we talk about vulnerability in the workplace, we're not just talking about shedding tears in front of colleagues or admitting that we don't know the answer to everything. Vulnerability in this context refers to being open and honest about our fears, insecurities, and limitations. It means showing up as our authentic selves, even when we feel exposed or unsure. It's about stepping into the discomfort of not having all the answers and trusting that by doing so, we are creating space for growth, innovation, and deeper human connection. One of the most powerful things about vulnerability in the workplace is how it invites others to do the same. When a leader or colleague is willing to acknowledge their own challenges and struggles, it encourages a culture of openness and trust. People feel safer, more willing to take risks, and more comfortable bringing their full selves to work. This kind of environment fosters creativity, collaboration, and problem solving. It becomes a place where ideas flow freely because people are no longer afraid to speak up, make mistakes, or ask for help. In fact, it's often through our vulnerabilities that we make our greatest breakthroughs. When we're honest about what we don't know, we open the door to learning and discovering new ways of approaching problems. We stop pretending that we have it all together and start seeking the knowledge and support we need to grow. This process of vulnerability-driven learning can lead to incredible innovation. Many of the greatest ideas in business and technology came about because someone was willing to admit they didn't have all the answers and was open to new perspectives and solutions. At the same time, vulnerability also deepens our relationships with colleagues and peers. When we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we invite others into our world and create an opportunity for meaningful connection. In the workplace, where relationships often focus solely on tasks and deliverables, this human connection can be transformative. People become more than just coworkers, they become allies, mentors, and friends. It's through these authentic connections that we feel seen and valued, which is a fundamental human need. When we feel valued at work, we are more engaged, more motivated, and more likely to contribute our best efforts. But vulnerability isn't just about what we give to others. It's also about what we give to ourselves. When we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we grant ourselves the permission to be imperfect. We stop holding ourselves to impossible standards and start embracing the idea that mistakes and setbacks are part of the process, not something to fear or avoid. This shift in perspective frees us from the pressure of perfectionism and allows us to take bold action, even when the outcome is uncertain. It's a shift that promotes self-compassion and resilience, which are essential for long-term success. The fear of vulnerability often stems from a deep-seated belief that showing weakness will lead to rejection or failure. However, research shows that the opposite is true. In reality, vulnerability fosters connection, trust, and respect. It's the foundation of strong teams and thriving work cultures. When we are vulnerable, we allow others to see us as human beings, not just workers or performers. This human connection is what ultimately leads to fulfillment in our professional lives. It's what transforms a job into a meaningful career and a workplace into a community. Ultimately, embracing vulnerability in the workplace isn't about being open all the time or sharing every detail of our lives. It's about being willing to step into discomfort when it matters, to share our true thoughts and feelings when it counts, and to acknowledge that we are all on this journey together. It's about recognizing that vulnerability is not a sign of weakness, but a powerful tool for connection, growth, and success. When we embrace vulnerability at work, we not only transform our careers, we transform ourselves. For years, we've been conditioned to measure success by external markers, titles, promotions, bank balances, awards, and the number of accolades we collect along the way. We've been told that the more we achieve, the more successful we are. Yet when we closely examine this traditional definition of success, we may begin to see something unsettling. It's often empty, fleeting, and tied to a never-ending race. The truth is, we've been taught to focus on the wrong things. Success is not a destination or a set of tangible accomplishments, but a journey defined by growth, fulfillment, and connection. We live in a culture that places an immense amount of pressure on achieving outward success. Whether it's climbing the corporate ladder or acquiring material wealth, the societal standard suggests that achieving these goals is the ultimate measure of personal value. But is it? Take a moment and think about your life. How often have you reached a milestone, only to find that it didn't feel as rewarding as you expected? The truth is, achievement alone doesn't create lasting happiness or satisfaction. When we define success solely by external measures, we risk losing sight of what really matters: our internal well-being, our relationships, and our sense of purpose. Redefining success begins with a shift in perspective. Instead of focusing on what we have or what we've done, we need to focus on who we are becoming in the process. True success lies in the ability to cultivate inner peace, self-awareness, and resilience. It's about nurturing our capacity to adapt, learn, and grow in the face of challenges. When we shift our focus to internal growth, we begin to realize that success isn't about reaching a fixed endpoint, but about the continuous evolution of ourselves and our experiences. This new definition of success aligns with a deeper, more sustainable sense of fulfillment, one that isn't dependent on ever-changing external rewards. One of the most liberating aspects of redefining success is that it takes the pressure off. We no longer have to constantly chase after something outside of ourselves to feel validated. Instead, we can appreciate the present moment, embrace our personal journey, and find joy in the process, not just the outcome. This is where true fulfillment lies, in the everyday choices we make, the relationships we cultivate, and the values we live by. When we find contentment in the journey itself, the stress and anxiety that come from the pursuit of external success begin to fade away. Redefining success also means embracing imperfection. In our traditional definition of success, we are often led to believe that failure is a setback, something to be avoided at all costs. Yet, when we look closely, we see that failure is an essential part of growth. It is through failure that we learn the most profound lessons about ourselves, our capabilities, and our resilience. When we redefine success, we acknowledge that setbacks are not signs of inadequacy, but are part of the human experience. In fact, failure often pushes us to reflect, innovate, and try again with greater wisdom and strength. Another aspect of redefining success is the importance of relationships and connection. Success is no longer just about personal accomplishments, but about how we impact the lives of others. Are we building meaningful relationships? Are we contributing to the well-being of our communities? Are we nurturing our emotional and social well-being? These are the questions that truly determine our success. The quality of our relationships, whether with family, friends, or colleagues, directly impacts our sense of fulfillment. Success, in this light, is about creating a life of connection, empathy, and love. The role of purpose in our redefined vision of success cannot be overlooked. For many of us, traditional success means simply doing well in our careers or accumulating material wealth. However, these things don't always provide lasting happiness or meaning. What truly fuels us is purpose. The reason we wake up every morning, the passion we bring to our work, and the deeper sense of contribution we feel. A fulfilling life is one where our actions align with our values, where we can see the impact of our efforts on the world around us. Success then becomes about more than personal gain. It becomes about contributing to something larger than ourselves. Lastly, redefining success means accepting that it is unique to each of us. In a world where we are constantly bombarded with external definitions of success, it's crucial to remember that no one else can dictate what success looks like for us. Our journey is personal and distinct. The pursuit of success is not a race, it is a path that unfolds differently for everyone. We each have our own values, dreams, and aspirations, and these should guide our sense of success. What success looks like for you may be entirely different from what it looks like for someone else, and that is perfectly okay. The freedom to define success on your terms is one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself. When we redefine success beyond achievement, we start to see the richness and beauty of life in new ways. Success isn't about having it all or being the best. It's about embracing who we are, growing with each challenge, and nurturing the things that truly matter. It's about understanding that the worth of our lives cannot be measured by trophies or accolades, but by the love we give, the purpose we serve, and the lives we touch. As we redefine what it means to be successful, we find that the journey itself is where the real treasures lie. Success becomes less about arriving somewhere and more about who we become along the way. In a world that often encourages us to blend in, stay quiet, and avoid standing out, the courage to show up and be seen can feel like an overwhelming challenge. We are constantly bombarded with messages that suggest our worth is contingent on our ability to conform to certain ideals or standards. Whether it's in the workplace, our personal lives, or in social situations, we often hide parts of ourselves, our thoughts, our emotions, our vulnerabilities, because we fear judgment, rejection, or failure. But what if the key to unlocking true fulfillment and success lies not in hiding who we are, but in having the courage to show up fully, to bring our authentic selves to the table, and to be seen even when it feels risky? The act of showing up and being seen requires vulnerability, and vulnerability by its very nature is uncomfortable. It demands that we step outside our carefully constructed walls and put ourselves in a position where we might be misunderstood, criticized, or even hurt. Yet, it is through vulnerability that we find our greatest potential for growth, connection, and impact. When we allow ourselves to be seen, truly seen by others, we open ourselves up to opportunities for deeper connection, greater trust, and more meaningful relationships. It is through this authentic presence that we can create real change, not only in our own lives, but also in the lives of those around us. One of the reasons it is so difficult to show up and be seen is because of the stories we tell ourselves about what it means to be good enough. We constantly measure ourselves against some external standard, whether it's society's ideal of success, the expectations of our family, or the accomplishments of our peers. These comparisons leave us feeling inadequate and unsure of our worth. We may convince ourselves that we need to be perfect before we can be seen, or that our flaws and imperfections disqualify us from being valued. However, when we step into the truth of who we are, imperfections and all, we realize that our worth is not defined by perfection, but by our willingness to be real, raw, and authentic. The courage to show up and be seen is also deeply tied to the fear of rejection. We fear that if we truly express ourselves, if we allow others to see our deepest thoughts, dreams, and fears, we will be rejected or judged. But the paradox is that by hiding our true selves in an attempt to protect ourselves from rejection, we only create distance and isolation. We may appear successful, put together, or confident on the outside, but on the inside we feel disconnected, empty, and lonely. It is only when we show up as our authentic selves, when we allow ourselves to be seen, that we begin to foster real connections with others. Vulnerability, when embraced, is actually the gateway to deeper acceptance and understanding. By being authentic, we create space for others to do the same. Showing up and being seen also requires us to confront our fears head on. It's natural to want to avoid discomfort, to play it safe, to stay in the shadows where we feel protected. But true growth happens when we step into the discomfort of being seen. when we confront the fears that hold us back, and when we allow ourselves to be exposed in the face of uncertainty. It's in those moments of courage, when we decide to speak up in a meeting, to share an idea we fear might not be accepted, or to express our emotions honestly, that we begin to unlock our full potential. The more we practice showing up, the more we realize that the discomfort of vulnerability is a small price to pay for the rewards of connection, growth, and authenticity. As we develop the courage to show up and be seen, we begin to understand that it's not just about us. It's about the impact we have on others. When we show up as our authentic selves, we create space for others to do the same. By being vulnerable, we encourage those around us to be vulnerable as well, which leads to greater empathy, understanding, and support. In our workplaces, our communities, and our families, the act of showing up and being seen can have a ripple effect, inspiring others to take the leap and embrace their own authenticity. In doing so, we foster a culture of openness and trust, where people feel safe to express themselves and be heard. The courage to show up and be seen is also crucial for personal growth and self-acceptance. When we hold ourselves back, we deny ourselves the opportunity to explore our full potential. We may keep ourselves trapped in patterns of self-doubt and fear, believing that we're not worthy of success, love, or happiness. But when we allow ourselves to show up fully, without hiding or pretending, we open ourselves up to the possibility of becoming the person we were always meant to be. This process of self-discovery and acceptance is deeply empowering. It helps us recognize that we are enough just as we are, and that we deserve to take up space in this world, regardless of our imperfections. Finally, showing up and being seen is an act of self-compassion. It's about embracing ourselves with love and kindness, even in the moments when we feel most vulnerable. When we show up authentically, we are telling ourselves that we are worthy of being seen, heard, and understood. We are letting go of the need for external validation and choosing to validate ourselves instead. This act of self-compassion is liberating, allowing us to live our lives with more confidence, grace, and authenticity. It's through this process that we learn to trust ourselves, embrace our imperfections, and step fully into our power. In conclusion, the courage to show up and be seen is not just about taking a bold step in front of others. It's about stepping into our own truth and embracing who we truly are. It requires vulnerability, bravery, and the willingness to confront our fears and insecurities, but in doing so, we unlock the potential for deeper connection, greater fulfillment, and more meaningful success. Showing up and being seen is not about perfection or external approval. It's about embracing our imperfections, owning our stories, and allowing ourselves to be fully present in our own lives. And when we do, we give others the permission to do the same, creating a world where authenticity and vulnerability are not only accepted, but celebrated. In a world that constantly pushes us toward perfection, it can be difficult to accept the reality that imperfection plays a central role in creating a meaningful career. From early on, we're taught that success is tied to flawless execution, whether that's achieving perfect grades, delivering impeccable performances at work, or adhering to a model of personal or professional excellence. We're told that mistakes are failures and that perfection is the ultimate goal. However, if we take a closer look at the most fulfilling and impactful careers, we begin to see a different story, one in which imperfection is not a hindrance, but rather a vital catalyst for growth, authenticity, and long-lasting success. When we embrace imperfection, we free ourselves from the rigid expectations that hold us back. Perfectionism often creates a fear of failure, one that prevents us from taking risks or trying new things. We become so focused on avoiding mistakes that we limit our potential for creativity, innovation, and learning. Yet it is through our imperfections and failures that we learn the most valuable lessons. By making mistakes and acknowledging them, We not only grow as individuals, but also gain the ability to adapt, innovate, and problem solve in ways that lead to real progress. A meaningful career isn't built by avoiding failure. It's shaped by how we respond to it, learn from it, and move forward. The fear of imperfection often leads to a deep sense of self-doubt. We wonder if we're good enough or if we're capable of achieving what we've set out to do. This inner critic can be paralyzing, especially in a professional world that often praises flawless performance. However, imperfection is what makes us human, and it's this humanity that connects us to others. The people we work with, mentor, or serve are not looking for perfect individuals. They are looking for those who can relate, empathize, and understand their struggles. When we acknowledge our imperfections, we create space for vulnerability, which is the foundation of meaningful relationships in the workplace. This human connection fosters trust, collaboration, and a supportive environment in which everyone is empowered to do their best work without the fear of falling short. In fact, the most impactful and influential careers are often shaped by people who have embraced their imperfections and turned them into strengths. Think about some of the most celebrated leaders, innovators, and creators in history. They didn't achieve greatness by being perfect. They achieved greatness by taking risks, making mistakes, and showing resilience in the face of failure. Albert Einstein, for example, was not immediately recognized as a genius. His early work was rejected and he struggled with self-doubt. But he didn't let his imperfections deter him. Instead, he used his setbacks as fuel for further discovery. His career and the profound impact he had on the world were shaped by his willingness to embrace his imperfections, challenge the status quo, and keep going despite setbacks. When we accept imperfection, we create the room necessary for innovation and breakthroughs. Another key aspect of imperfection in career building is the authenticity it brings to our work. When we try to adhere to a perfect, polished version of ourselves, we risk losing touch with our true passions, strengths, and values. We might follow the conventional path, chasing accolades, promotions, or external validation, but we risk feeling unfulfilled because we're not being true to who we are. Embracing imperfection allows us to show up authentically in our work, bringing our unique perspectives and ideas to the table. This authenticity not only makes our work more meaningful, but also creates a sense of purpose that drives us, even through challenges. When we let go of the need to be perfect and instead focus on being genuine, we open the door to a career that reflects our true selves, one that feels aligned with our passions and values. Imperfection is also a powerful tool for building resilience, a quality that is essential for a meaningful career. Careers are rarely linear, and setbacks, failures, and obstacles are inevitable. It's easy to view these challenges as signs of inadequacy, but when we reframe imperfection as an opportunity for growth, we develop the resilience needed to keep moving forward. Each imperfection, each mistake, and each failure becomes a lesson that strengthens our character and deepens our resolve. Rather than viewing challenges as roadblocks, we begin to see them as stepping stones that are necessary for personal and professional development. It is through our imperfections that we build the strength to face adversity with grace, adaptability, and determination. Furthermore, embracing imperfection in our careers fosters a sense of self-compassion. Perfectionism is often fueled by a harsh inner critic that constantly tells us we're not good enough. We set impossibly high standards and punish ourselves when we fail to meet them. This self-critical mindset not only undermines our well-being, but also stifles our creativity and potential. When we allow ourselves to be imperfect, we practice kindness and understanding toward ourselves. We acknowledge our mistakes without letting them define us, and we recognize that growth is a process, not a destination. Self-compassion allows us to let go of the shame and guilt that comes with imperfection, enabling us to embrace our full potential without fear of judgment or failure. In the end, a meaningful career is built not on perfection, but on the courage to show up as we are with all our imperfections. The pursuit of perfection is often a trap, keeping us stuck in a cycle of self-criticism and fear. When we release the need to be flawless, we make space for creativity, connection, and resilience. Imperfection becomes not something to hide or avoid, but something to celebrate. It's through our imperfections that we discover our true strengths, learn valuable lessons, and cultivate a deeper sense of purpose in our work. A meaningful career isn't about being perfect. It's about embracing the journey with all its bumps and detours and finding joy and fulfillment in the process of becoming. Ultimately, imperfection doesn't make us less capable or less worthy of success. It makes us more human. And it is our humanity that allows us to create careers that are not just successful in terms of external achievements, but deeply meaningful on a personal level. When we accept and embrace imperfection, we open the door to the authentic, resilient, and fulfilling career that we are all capable of building, one that honors both our strengths and our flaws and leads us to true satisfaction and impact. In a world where careers are often seen as a means to an end, a way to earn a paycheck, secure benefits, and climb the professional ladder, the idea of finding deeper connection and purpose through work may seem distant or even unrealistic. Yet the truth is that our work can be so much more than a transactional relationship between employer and employee. It can be a powerful platform for cultivating connection and discovering purpose, not just for ourselves, but for the people we work with and the communities we serve. The key to unlocking this potential is shifting our perspective from work as a job to work as a place where meaning is created, relationships are nurtured, and purpose is realized. Work, by nature, is where we spend a significant portion of our lives. It shapes much of our identity, influences our relationships, and provides structure to our days. Yet far too often, we separate our professional lives from our personal lives, compartmentalizing them as though they belong to different worlds. We may work hard to build our careers, striving for success, but sometimes this effort leaves us feeling disconnected from what truly matters: our values, our sense of purpose, and our connection to others. In order to build meaningful connections through work, we must first recognize that the two worlds aren't separate. Our work is an integral part of who we are, and the connections we create within it can enhance the sense of fulfillment we feel in all areas of our lives. The first step in building connection and purpose through work is to understand that our relationships with our colleagues are not just transactional. At work, we often focus on what needs to be done, deadlines to meet, and tasks to accomplish. But the magic happens when we see the people around us as more than just coworkers. Each person we work with brings their own unique experiences, perspectives, and passions to the table. Building authentic relationships at work, taking the time to truly understand, appreciate, and connect with others adds a layer of meaning to what we do. These relationships can become the foundation for trust, collaboration, and mutual support, which in turn create a work environment where everyone feels valued and heard. When we take the time to build these connections, we also open ourselves up to new opportunities for learning and growth. Our colleagues are a valuable resource of knowledge, wisdom, and experience. By building genuine relationships with them, we not only increase our own skills, but also create a supportive network that encourages personal and professional development. These connections provide the space for us to ask questions, challenge our assumptions, and learn from others' experiences. As we do so, we begin to see our work as not just a means of performing tasks, but as a shared journey of growth where each person's success contributes to the success of the whole. Building connection through work also means aligning our work with our personal values. Often we feel disconnected from our work when it doesn't resonate with what we care about most. We may find ourselves going through the motions, doing what is expected of us without feeling a sense of passion or fulfillment. But when we connect our work to something deeper, whether it's a cause we believe in, a mission we're passionate about, or the desire to contribute to something larger than ourselves, we find purpose. This alignment between our personal values and our professional roles is what makes work meaningful. When we feel that our work reflects who we are and what we care about, it becomes more than just a job. It becomes a vehicle for creating positive change in the world, both for ourselves and for others. Purpose is also deeply intertwined with the impact we have on the people around us. When we approach our work with the intention of contributing to the well-being of others, we create a ripple effect that extends far beyond the tasks at hand. Whether it's a leader who inspires and supports their team, a colleague who lends a helping hand, or an employee who strives to make a difference in their community, the way we show up in the workplace has the power to transform lives. Each act of kindness, collaboration, and encouragement creates a culture of care where people feel supported and valued. In this environment, people are not just working for a paycheck. They are working for a sense of purpose and a shared vision that connects them to one another and to something greater than themselves. In a meaningful career, work is not just about what we accomplish individually, but about the collective impact we create together. When we build connection through collaboration, we amplify our potential to achieve something far greater than we could on our own. Each person brings their unique strengths, skills, and perspectives, and when these are brought together in a spirit of collaboration, amazing things happen. Building strong connections with our colleagues fosters a sense of community where people feel empowered to contribute their best work. This sense of belonging is a powerful motivator. It makes work feel less like a solitary pursuit and more like a shared mission. As we collaborate and support one another, we discover that the work we do has a greater purpose and a deeper impact on the world. The sense of purpose we derive from our work is also strengthened when we see the fruits of our labor having a tangible, positive effect on the world. It's easy to get lost in the daily grind and lose sight of the bigger picture, but when we take a step back and reflect on how our work contributes to the lives of others, we gain a new sense of meaning. Whether we're working in healthcare, education, technology, business, or any other field, the impact of our work is far-reaching. Even the smallest tasks, when done with intention and care, contribute to a larger goal. Understanding this connection between our efforts and the positive changes they bring to others can reignite our passion and remind us why our work matters. Ultimately, building connection and purpose through work is about creating a life that feels rich and fulfilling, not just in terms of material success, but in the depth of our relationships, the alignment of our values, and the impact we have on others. When we approach work with the intention of connecting authentically with others, staying true to our values, and contributing to something meaningful, we create an environment where both we and those around us can thrive. Work becomes more than just a series of tasks. It becomes a way to create positive change, build lasting relationships, and contribute to a purpose larger than ourselves. In this way, our careers can become a powerful vehicle for living a life of meaning, fulfillment, and connection.